If there's one person I've really liked this year, it's definitely Ricky Gervais. He's got the best hot takes. He calls out hypocrisy. It's been fun following him this year because he pretty much just says whatever he wants, which is kind of what you should do if you're a comedian. Problem with comedy today is they're not really trying to push any boundaries anymore, and it's just been stale PC comedy. It's not very funny. It's lame. So it's nice to see somebody tell it how it is. Dave Chappelle, I definitely keep up there with Ricky Gervais. Bill Burr, I think, is definitely up there as well. But Ricky has been a little bit more outspoken than them. Dave Chappelle still kind of does because he really doesn't care if he gets any more movie roles. So he just says what's on his mind. Ricky does the same thing. He doesn't care either. Both of them are kind of content with the amount of money they have and don't really care if they get any more work. At least that's what it seems like to me. So anyway, Ricky Gervais says The Office would not get made today because online outrage moms taking jokes out of context have left TV bosses afraid to take risks with comedy. Isn't that crazy? Now, he only mentions the British version of The Office, but I would say that a lot of the stuff that was in, especially the earlier seasons of The Office, would probably cause a lot of problems today. In that case, I'm talking about the American version. I don't think you can make either of the shows today, though he only speaks about his David Brent character. So we'll get into that. Then I want to talk about some Zoolander stuff. Apparently, people want to take Trump out of Zoolander. They already did this with Home Alone, by the way, which was ridiculous. And Ben Stiller is actually defending the movie, which I was kind of shocked by. But it lines up really good with this. He talks about how you just can't make certain kind of comedy anymore, which is really a shame. It's a shame that comedy is being suppressed. So the actor who played David Brent said broadcasters were too afraid to take risks. The Office sees Brent insult minorities as he grapples with political correctness. Yet the program, which aired from 2001 to 2002, won BAFTAs and Golden Globes. Gervais said he worries any sense of irony in the show is lost on today's audience. And they don't get it because they're too angry all the time. Too busy trying to cancel everybody over little jokes. I mean, they've went and taken, so you have scenes from, what was it? I think the Golden Girls had an episode where apparently a character used blackface and they pulled the episode. Golden Girls is a super old show. What is it, from like the 80s? When that show, is that show from the 80s, I think? It's really old. It's about a bunch of old women living together in a house. And it's like, I don't know what the context was for that episode. But, I mean, really? So you're never going to air that again, huh? It's getting a little crazy. I haven't seen that episode, but I'm sure there were no bad intentions in it. I don't know. Why are we going back and just erasing old stuff? Can't you just understand that these were different times? It's not the same anymore. I don't know. It just kind of blows me away a little bit. So Ricky Gervais has slammed cancel culture and said his hit TV show, The Office, would struggle to air today due to online outrage mobs. The comedian and actor, 59, who played David Brent in the BBC mockumentary, said broadcasters are now too afraid to take risks. The program, set at a paper firm, sees the character frequently insult minorities as he grapples with political correctness. Yet The Office, which aired from 2001 to 2002, won numerous BAFTAs and Golden Globes and is widely seen as one of the best British comedies ever made. It's one of the few I like. I usually don't get British humor, but he did such a good job with that show. I still find it pretty funny. I like both versions of The Office. More so earlier seasons of the long-running American version. I didn't really like the later seasons, especially when Steve Carell left. I think the show got kind of stale, and it was getting stale. But the earlier seasons of that show were pretty funny. Yet The Office, we got that part. So he told Times Radio now The Office would suffer because people would take things literally. There are these outrage mobs who take things out of context, which is totally true. This was a show about everything. It was about difference. It was about sex, race, all the things that people fear to even be discussed or talked about now in case they say the wrong thing and they are canceled. What's really funny about this, too, is right now, Hollywood, a lot of people in Hollywood are trying to push back on cancel culture. Unfortunately, though, for years, all of them have sat around and said nothing and done nothing, and even, to an extent, pushed it themselves, particularly J.K. Rowling, who's in a lot of hot water lately. She was all about cancel culture a few years ago, but now all of a sudden that's changed when it turns on her. I don't feel bad for many celebrities that are getting hit because they've let it stew for years and never did anything about it. Oh, but now you want change? It's a weapon of your own design. You helped it. And now that it's turning on you, well, I don't feel too bad for you. Anyway, he goes on to say here, the BBC have got more and more careful. People want to keep their jobs, so they would worry about some of the subjects and jokes, even though they were clearly ironic and we were laughing at this buffoon being uncomfortable around difference. He's, of course, talking about David Brent, and he's saying that the BBC would never air this show. I think if this was put out now, some people have lost their sense of irony and context. And then he goes on to say that he would not care if his new show, Afterlife, was canceled by Netflix because he's already earned a lot of money. That's what they call FU money. So he just doesn't care. So I thought this was interesting. And he's right. The Office wouldn't come out today. If it did, it would be a lot different than what you see now. And I don't think it would be as good. It would be really watered down and very, very careful, which is, comedy shouldn't be careful. It should be edgy. It's supposed to be edgy. And you'll see a lot of people say, oh, well, you just can't adapt to the times. It shouldn't have to. They've been coming after, they'll keep going after comedy too, by the way. So I expect it to get worse before it gets better, if it even ever gets better, by the way. And, you know, speaking of Golden Girls and not being able to do things anymore, we can go to this. So this is a report from Bounding into Comics about Ben Stiller, who a lot of people actually want him to go and edit out. If you remember, there's a Trump cameo in there where he says, oh, male modeling wouldn't be what it is today without Derek Zoolander. And a lot of people want him to edit that out. And he refuses to do it because that's just how things were then. He did a lot of cameos. But they want him to follow the Home Alone model and edit him out of the movie, which is ridiculous. But the reason I want to talk about this is because this article follows a lot of the same stuff that Ricky Gervais was talking about, saying, I don't think that you can do these kinds of things anymore, like the Zoolander movie and so on and so on. Couldn't even have Zoolander today. He says this, Stiller detailed that the cameo will not be edited out and provided some background about the cameo, explaining that it was taped at the VH1 Fashion Awards. But before Stiller got to talking about the cameo, he was asked by Young Fast, do you think it's harder to make art in a time of preposterous politics? Stiller responded, well, honestly, I don't know if it's the politics as much as just the atmosphere of the political correctness now and everybody being afraid to say something that's offensive, and rightfully so in most cases. But comedically, I think it's definitely challenging, which is probably why he hasn't done anything. So he's kind of dancing the line here by saying, well, it's rightful that they edit it out in those cases or that they change it. But, you know, it's still hard to do it. You're making it hard. Why don't you stand up, man? I mean, I'm pretty sure you're not broke. Why don't you stand up against this stuff? You're supposed to be somewhat of a comedian. Why don't you stand up against this stuff? It's kind of a joke at this point. They're adding to their own demise. And that's why when a lot of these people are just now calling out cancel culture and saying, oh, we need to do something about it. It's like, well, you helped it get to this point. You were all about it before. You were all about it then. But not now. Now that it's looking at you, huh? All right. Guess you better save up some FU money. But anyway, comedy in a lot of ways is just done. And like I said, I don't know if it's ever going to come back to what it was. You'll never see someone like a George Carlin again. That's for sure. Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr. Mostly Dave Chappelle, though, because Dave Chappelle just does not care. He's probably one of the last real comedians left. Bill Burr, I can see toning it down a little bit. But, like, really, those are some of the people that are left. Ricky Gervais is still kind of there. I think he's content doing nothing because he doesn't really need to work again, and he admits it. And if he doesn't work again, I don't think he cares. So, it is what it is at this point. But one other thing real quick I wanted to add in. Make sure you buy physical copies of your media, because the Zoolander here, right? They could have easily just edited that clip out. And does it really hurt the film? No. But does it need to be edited out? No. They did this with Home Alone. If you remember, they aired it on TV. I don't know what it's like on any of the streaming services if that scene got cut where he met up with Kevin at the hotel. I'm not sure. But it's just the point that they are going and doing a lot of editing, and it's important to buy physical media for movies you love and hang on to them, because eventually they will go in and take a lot of stuff out that they consider offensive and stuff like that. So buy your physical copies, keep them safe, keep them close. Anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think about all of this. Also, if you would, throw a like up, share the video, make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you on the next one. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.